Hello friends and welcome. So whenever we are dealing with the transmission of data, there are multiple ways we can use. In some way we have to go with direct sending of the data package, or we are going just with the transmission. We don't bother to get back the response, and in some cases we need the response from the, or you can say feedback or response from the receiving side, and in some cases we want a quick response. So all these things are relatable, and these are related to the data transmission modes. So in this video we are specifically targeting on data transmission modes. So let's get into the video. Before going into the modes, we must have to understand what is data transmission. The term defines the direction of data flow between two linked communicating devices in a network. So first, the devices have to be communicated with each other. They are linked in a network, and transmission means the flow of data, in which direction the data will flow. The way in which data is transmitted from one place to another is called data transmission mode. So the direction, the way a data is sent or transmitted from one place to another is known to be the data transmission mode. When we are talking about the modes of transmission, we have three modes. Number one, in this we have simplex, then we have half duplex, then we have full duplex. So we have three data transmission modes: simplex, half duplex and full duplex. So let's get into each of it. First we have simplex transmission. In this mode of transmission, data flows only in one direction from sending device to receiving device. It is used when the sending device does not require a response from the receiving device. So, simplex mode, the data flow is in a single direction from sending device to receiving device, and when it happens when the sending device don't need a response from the receiving device, all you have to send the data to the receiver and it being received, and that is it. So it flows in a single direction. That is known to be a simplex transmission mode. It means that in this mode transmission is unidirectional in one direction. Let's understand this concept with an example. We are taking the example of CPU and monitor communication, right? As CPU transmit data to the monitor, and monitor can only receive the data and display on screen. The monitor cannot be able to respond back or send any feedback to the CPU. So it is the simple that CPU transmit the data to the monitor, and monitor is just showing the data on the screen, just displaying the data on the screen. Monitor doesn't bother to go give a response or a feedback, right? So it is in the category of simplex transmission mode, when you only have to transmit the data, right, from the sender to the receiving end. And here are some other example like radio and television transmission. There is a you can say base station from where they broadcast, and the data is being sent and received on multiple ends, but the receivers may not going to respond back. Similar goes for the TV remotes, right? You are operating with the help of a remote, right? Keyboard CPU relationship, that is same with the CPU and monitor. Keyboard is typing instruction that is sent to the CPU, so CPU is not responding back to the specific instructions, right? And the computer monitor relationship that we have discussed. Even we can take the example of computer printer relationship, right? So these are all the examples of simplex transmission mode. And when we are talking about simplex transmission mode, there are some of the advantages and disadvantages. So let's discuss that. First advantage is the communication channel is completely utilized for data, as it is the simplest and smallest single direction, so all the completely utilized. Second, there is no heavy traffic issue as the transmission flows in only one direction, right? And the disadvantage is no interaction between the communicating devices, because we are not going to go for the response or feedback from the receiving device, so there is no interaction. The receiver cannot provide feedback or acknowledgement to the sender. So this was simplex transmission. Let's move toward the second one. Next we have is the half duplex transmission mode. In this mode of transmission, data flows in both directions from sending device to receiving device and vice versa, but only in one direction at a time. In this mode, data is sent and received alternatively. So this mode provides you both the direction but a single direction at a time. Either you can send it or you can receive it. You can send and receive both in both direction but one function at a time. Either you can send or you can receive it. So such type of transmission is known to be the half duplex, right? Let's take an example of half duplex. We have walkie-talkie, right? One user can talk at a given time and cannot communicate simultaneously. Once the push to talk button on is pressed, then the transmitter will turn on, whereas the receiver will turn on, and thus we can speak only instead of listening, and the other party will only listen. So the best example for half duplex is the walkie-talkie, right? Either you can listen to it, or you can transmit, or you can speak with the help of a walkie-talkie. So once you can just push to talk button, you have to press the button on walkie-talkie. So the function of for this pressing the button, you can only speak. So at that specific moment you can't listen, right? And the other party only can listen in that area. And if you are speaking, the other is listening, and the other is speaking, you are listening. So it works on both ways but one at a time. Next we have some examples like two-way radios and browsing the internet, that is request and responses, and the same goes with the USBs. Like you can insert the data into the USB and you can transfer the data, and right. So in both direction you are going with the transmission of data but one at a time. If you are sending, so you can send at a time, and if you are receiving, you can receive at a time. So you can't perform both the functions in the same time at the given time. And the advantages and disadvantages of half duplex: interaction between the communication devices is possible, as we can give the feedback and response, so interaction is possible. The communication channel is maximum utilized, right? So we are utilizing the maximum channel as we are uh, uh, transmitting the data, as well as we are receiving the feedbacks and acknowledgements. The communication parties may wait for data transmission because they cannot communicate at a time. So they have to wait and then they have to respond, or they have going for the acknowledgement. The delay in the data transmission is an issue only as a single direction data flow is possible, because data flow direction is single at a time. So you have to go with the delay and the wait. Heading toward the last one, that is the full duplex. In full duplex transmission, data flows in both directions at the same time and allow bidirectional from sending device to receiving device and vice versa. So in this method, as the previous one in the half duplex, we are going with both the direction but one at a time, and instead of that, full duplex allows us bidirectional, both directional at the given time. So it is faster mode of communication, so we don't have to wait for for transmitting the data and then for receiving the data. We can transmit and receive at the same time. So this is the full duplex transmission mode. Let's take an example. So the best example is a regular telephone line which supports the full duplex transmission, so that both that party can speak and listen to each other at the same time, because the two-way communicating link is involved between the two parties. So as we can take an example of a regular phone call, we are on a call, so we can speak and listen at the same time. So this is our full duplex transmission. So in both direction the data is being transmitted. And if we have to take other examples for the full duplex, we can go with the Bluetooth, wireless headset, video conferences, where multiple people can speak and communicate simultaneously, right? So let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of full duplex transmission medium. It allows interactive communication between parties, so there is no delay, so the communication is very much interactive in full duplex. It enhances the efficiency of communication between the transmitting and receiving parties, right? And for disadvantages, the cost of medium will increase, right, because it is in both ways, so the cost, medium cost, will increase. And the channel bandwidth is inaccurately utilized, and the main reason is that there are two separate links for both communicating parties. So I hope you are familiar with the bandwidth. Bandwidth is actually the amount of data, maximum amount of data that can be transmitted, right? So in case of full duplex, because we are sending and receiving on the same time, so bandwidth is not utilized properly. So it is inaccurate use of bandwidth. And the reason is because of the links, separate links for the communicating parties. So I hope this video will be informative for you people. In transmission mode, we go with the simplex, where we have to just send the data. We don't bother for the feedback. So that is your simplex. And where second one is your half duplex, where we need the feedback but we can go with the delay, right? And the third one, where we can't afford any delay, we have to go with the simultaneously receiving and sending of data, so we go with the full duplex mode. I hope you find this video informative. Do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. We will meet in the next video. Till then, take good care of yourselves.